Well, first of all, I mean, starting practice with the Italian trip, how much further ahead now are you at the start of this than you would have been?
Well, obviously, I hope we're further ahead. I don't know how much. I don't know. I think they have familiarity with some of the things that we're doing, want to do. They're not very good at it, but at least they're familiar with it. Most of them.
Have you seen a lot of improvement since the summers? Obviously, you said back then that they were running into each other on the court, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it's like anything else. Some of them pick it up quicker than others do. Some of them still kind of struggle, with things that we've done every day. But unfortunately, those guys probably won't play very much. But, it's hard to, when you've got 8 new guys kind of. There's this bad things going on everywhere. When you have 2 or 3 freshmen like normally you do, then you kind of got Kevin Jones, he's fine. You got Truck, understands what he's doing. Dennis understands what he's doing. But there are times you've got 4 new guys, sometimes 5 new guys on one team, and it's just bad stuff going on everywhere, and you can't correct it all at one time. That's the hard part about having all the young guys. It's not that freshmen don't struggle some. I mean, really, when was it? I lose track of time. 3 years ago, I guess it was, with 3 freshmen in our top 6. It was just 3. It was just 3. You'd be all right. We can figure it out. But it's just right now. It's kind of difficult.
Coach, can you draw any comparisons to this learning process that you're going through with the kids this year compared to what you went through with your first year when you were talking about how you had to teach your system to the whole team?
No, because those guys were coached before.
Right.
It was different, but they had a great understanding of how to back cut. They did different things with screens, but they were very familiar with screening. They did a great job of making the extra pass. John coaches them. It's different, but John's a heck of a coach. So they were a lot further ahead, and then they were mature. They were guys that had played before, had played in big situations before. A lot of them had played in the NIT championship. So I think those guys were much better prepared than what these guys are.
Bob, you said in the past that you liked walking out on the floor and looking at the other guys and thinking we're better than they are.
That's a comforting feeling, yeah.
You're not going to do that many times this year. Is there something to be said for the challenge of overcoming that?
Not just as soon have it the other way. It's going to be a challenge. It's and I've talked about this a bunch, I know, but different people learn different ways, and certainly different people learn. Deshaun Butler had a great aptitude to learn basketball. Devin Ebanks had a great aptitude to learn basketball. John told me one time that Deshaun picked things up faster, in his system than I think anybody he'd ever had before. So we all have different aptitudes, and it's hard to tell that, when you go out to recruit guys, and you basically go out and watch them in the AAU circles, and it's hard to figure out which guys have a great aptitude to learn, how quickly they can learn. They're all going to learn, it's just a matter of how quickly, and our schedule's hard. Oral Roberts is good. I mean, I've watched film more Roberts, and they've got their top 7 scorer, I think top six scorers back, and then I think their second leading scorer from the year before hurt his foot, so he's back. And they think this is one of the better teams that they've had. And then we go from there to Kent, who's very good. I mean, it's
Well, this is a situation that calls for patience, yet they say the older you get, the less patience you have. How are you going to handle this? And hurry up with that answer, will you?
Well, you know, as usual, Bob, I'm not like everybody else. I've had more patience as I've gotten older rather than less, in some areas, and I think on the floor areas. I have probably a little less patience in other areas, but I had no patience when I first started. No, absolutely not. I thought everybody ought to know what knew. Everybody should know what I know, and I've since learned that they don't. And really, we've had a lot of patience with them to this point. You know.
Ideally, what would you like to do with Truck? Is he a 2-guard if you were not?
We don't really have positions, but I'd like for him to have the ball less. I'd rather him be a receiver. I'd rather him be a catcher than a pitcher, you know, so to speak. He's our best perimeter shooter. I think he'll be our most consistent perimeter shooter. As I said the other day, he was miserable from the field to start the Big East. I mean, admittedly so. I think shooting 19%, somewhere in there. And then when we got him off the ball, and really Joe had the ball more, he started making shots. And he just has less things to worry about, less things to think about, although he still has to help KJ, and KJ have to get people where they're supposed to be. But I think he's going to be a lot more productive for us offensively without having all the responsibilities of a point guard.
Speaking of point guards, Jabari Hines was the last year recruits to come in. He didn't get to go on the Italy trip. Is he catching up fine, or is he where you expected to be right now?
Jabari really wants to learn. And, you know, I think we've been very fortunate here. We've got 3 great guys from Mount Vernon. And I think Jabari will continue to be, you know, in the same line. He's the same kind of person that Lowe's and KJ have been. I mean, they're great people and great teammates. And he's catching up. I mean, it's just hard. I mean, those other guys had 10 practices, you know, and well, they had more than that because we practiced a little bit over there and played whatever it was, 5 games, I think. So he's behind, but he's picking things up.
This summer, you mentioned that one of the things you might want to do with this roster is play a little bit more up-tempo offensively through those practices you referred to and the overseas trip. Do you feel like you have the tools in place to do that?
We run faster, but we're trying. You know, I don't know. That remains to be seen. I think it would behoove us to be able to play that way because I think we can score better that way. We can use our athleticism a little bit better that way. But our league ends up kind of being a grinded out league. I mean, you saw what happens if you look at the people who led our league in scoring. They were generally at the bottom of the standings. Our league is kind of a grinded out league, which, you know, we're going to have to get better at. But, you know, we do want to get easy baskets. Absolutely get easy baskets.
Coach, what?
Speaking of the Big East, what do you make of it without Pitt and Syracuse? Eventually.
Well, from what I understand, Pitt and Syracuse is going to be in for a while. So I don't think it doesn't change really. Okay? You know, from our standpoint, it doesn't change. They're going to be playing this year and next year. I don't know if it's a year after or not. So,
Is it disappointing at least to see the beginning of this breakup?
I don't know, man. You know, I'm thinking Probably in my first 8 years at Cincinnati, I was in 3 different leagues. So I'm a veteran at league switching. Very accomplished at. Actually, when I was at Akron, we went Division I football and got knocked out of Ohio Valley. I was an independent, and then went to the Northeast Conference, which I never coached in. But I actually went from the Northeast Conference to the Mid-American and never played a game in the Northeast Conference. So.
Does it in a way bother you that this is all driven by football? I mean,
It's our own fault. It's our own fault. Basketball coaches, by and large, you go to a meeting with basketball coaches and we can't agree on anything. And you know, the truth is, I don't mean it in the wrong way, because I've been one of those guys. I think I can say it where maybe some other guys can't, you know. We have Division III coaches in our meetings that don't have any idea what we do. We have Division II coaches in our meetings that don't have any idea what we do. And then you have so-called low majors, mid majors, and high majors, and there's a big difference. And seemingly everybody tries to protect their own interest.
there's nothing that pulls you together.
No. We haven't done a very good job of that.
Coach, what are fair expectations that could be placed on KJ this year?
He's playing well. He's going to be our leader, Justin. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think KJ's just got to continue to do what KJ does, you know, make open shots and rebound the ball. He's our best defender. He's our best. I mean, really, he could guard a 3-man, so-called 3-man, better than anybody we have. He can guard a 5-man better than anybody we have. So, just continue to do what he's done. I mean, the guy's going to end up, I don't know, that's what, conceivably in the top 15, top 10 all-time scorers, and top 15 rebounders. They'd be all-time leading offensive rebounder. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, in a place like this, it's had great players. That's pretty good. That's a heck of a career.
He had kind of said last year that it was kind of a tough adjustment for him, being more of the focal point. Do you see a difference in him in that aspect this year?
Yeah, I think he's more comfortable with it. I mean,
Right.
he's, you know, Deshaun went through the same thing,
Right.
you know, and I think probably to a degree Joe Alexander went through it before that. But, you know, I think now that, you know, I think everybody wanted him to be Day, and he's not Day.
Right.
Any more than Day was Joe, or any more than Joe Mazzola was theirs. You know, you gotta, everybody has their, the things that they do well, and that's what they ought to do, and they ought to stay away from the things they don't do well. And if everybody does that, then you try to get a pretty good team.
How much has it helped to have Dennis have been around this summer and been able to, you know, be with his teammates and do the Italy trip, and how has that all helped him?
Oh, he's a lot better. He's a lot better. He's in so much better physical condition. I think his skill level was better. Dennis is a lot better. You know, Dennis just needs to kind of continue to buy in, which he has. He's bought in a bunch. I mean, from where he was, and just continue that process. And Dennis will have a good year.
Obviously, you've been trying to push him to be a better rebounder over the time that he's been here. Is he continuing to make some positive strides in that area?
He had to, you know. Jerry's statue got as many as him a lot of times. So, I mean, he would have had to. Yeah, he's rebounded better. We need him to you know, go to that next level and get us, you know, so if he could get a 7 a game, KJ's gonna get a 7 or 8 a game then.
With a young club, are the challenges more offense or defense? Where's it more challenging?
You know, it's both, really. You know, when you think about, the hard thing about our game is everybody wants to talk about offense or defense, but you know, you got zone offense, you got press offense, you got transition offense, and you got all those things defensively. And so you got to do all that breakdown and all that teaching. And then you got side out of bounds. If you screw up a side out of bounds, you know, you could lose the game. You screw up an OB under, you could lose a game. You can't get the ball in bounds. Likewise, you have to defend those things. And you know, how many times do you see somebody's got to control the game, particularly early in the year, and somebody throws up a press that maybe isn't all that good, even and people don't respond to it very well. Or you know, people are playing pretty well and cutting people up man to man, they go to a zone. And you don't attack it very well. That's because you haven't practiced it. Guys don't know what they're doing. And it's even a little bit more difficult with us because things aren't defined as much. You know, I want to try to teach them how to play and how to see things and react to what goes on accordingly. That takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Coach, when you talk about having or being able to use more athleticism out on the court, is that something we'll see right away, a difference, as opposed to, like, you know, what we've seen in the last few years? Or is it going to take some?
Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much we can teach. You know, I firmly believe that you have to build your defense from the basket out. You know, so we will continue to try to build our defense from the basket out, and how much further out we can go really depends on how quickly they pick things up. You know, when we were, and we probably were the best pressing team in the country, you know, in the early 90s. But I think what people lost track of was how good we were in the half court. We were really, really good in the half court. As that's where we started, and that was our base. And, you know, we extended out from there. And I think what everybody has to understand is the further you extend your defense, the more holes there are, and the bigger the gaps. So you have to be able to rotate.
So, I mean, have you seen good half-court stuff then? I mean, a foundation, so to speak?
No. I haven't seen good half-court stuff in either end before. It looks good, you know, when it's 5-on-0 sometimes. You know, until when you start playing and guys get up in you. I think we went 5 minutes without getting a shot. Both teams, you know, 5 minutes didn't get a shot for the day. It's hard to win like that.
What kind of things are you going to do in the non-conference portion of the schedule to get all the young guys ready for the Big East play? What kind of things do you do now to prepare them for the intensity of it?
We're going to try to win. I think when this all shakes down, I think you'll see that our non-conference schedule will match up as one of the best non-conference schedules in the country. We have just a couple of teams that at the end of the day, their RPI ain't going to be very good. I think the rest of them are going to be really good. I mean, we've got really a whole bunch of people who are potentially top 100 RPI teams. And you got to win. For all that they tell you about, you know, just get a hard schedule. Get a hard schedule, you'll be rewarded for it. You're rewarded for it if you win. And if you don't win, you're not rewarded for it. And then, you know, the risk that you take of playing the really good so-called mid-majors is, you're supposed to win. And if you win, it's really good because they really help you. RPI-wise, they really help you at the end of the day. If you lose, it's just another loss against a top 100 team, which isn't very good. So we got to try to win.
How are Eric and Juwan helping you guys in practice?
Juwan's really good because Juwan really puts a lot of pressure on the ball. And we need that, you know, those guys, that gets them a little more game ready, and he really pushes the ball. So they kind of understand what it's like standing back there and having somebody run downhill at you. And Eric's just, you know, Eric's good. Eric rebounds it, scores it. Trying to figure out how to defend, but he makes defensive plays just because he's so long and athletic. But there's not, you know, KJ's not going to play against anybody a whole lot more talented all year. And I don't care who we play, he's not going to play against anybody a whole lot more talented, so I think that really helps.
Is it hard to keep those two guys up? Maybe it is not the right word, but to keep them excited about everything with knowing that they can't play this year?
Not this time of the year. I mean, it gets a little tough later on in the year. But you know, they're fine now. Everybody's fine now because nobody knows who's going to play. It's when you start putting 5 guys out there and the other guys stand there, you know, that's when it gets. And then, you know, in Europe, we played everybody.
Any early predictions on how you think the conference will shape out this year?
I don't have any idea. I voted, but I can't remember what it was. I get a lot of input from